an alternative to slapping, and some new ways to look at tapping. Metal Bass Monday. Okay, so I thought I'd break this out because I thought it gave a number of new ideas for you guys to work with. And I get asked a lot specifically about the two-handed percussive technique that I use a lot. And people have asked because it sounds like slapping, and I did it in the jam that I'll link up there. But I wanted to kind of break this down and show you it because for me, it's a really interesting alternative since I don't do very much slapping. It lets me get that kind of percussive sound going, but it also places me kind of already in the mix with my hand on the neck. So being able to almost slap and tap simultaneously or kind of hybridize them is, to me, a really cool thing to be able to do. So I can get the tones of both out of one kind of technique. So I'll show you the approach. I simplified a number of pieces of this so it'll be easier to get the technique down and not have to worry so much about some complex note ideas or some kind of more radical things I might do as far as the feel and the numbers in the counts that we'll go over here in the beginning. But it should give you some new ideas, so let's break it down a piece at a time and check it out. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm using my finger kind of like you would use your thumb in slapping. I'm not tapping this. I'm just going, bouncing off the fret. You don't even have to be on the fret. You can be anywhere. I'm not hitting anywhere real specific. It's mostly what makes sense for my hand and where I'm going to be going to next, so I'm already prepared. Then after I hit the note, what I do is mute it, but do a hard mute so I get an actual click by going. So now, again, I simplified this. Usually what I would do is vary the counts as I go along, alternating in between twos and ones. And I'll explain that in a second. But I would kind of keep this rolling motion. To simplify this, I did one pattern the same way each time, but definitely experiment with this. And this can be interesting and give you some things that kind of have a more improv feel to them. So when I talk about twos and ones, what I mean is how many hits I do before the mute. So when I start in, I go 1. Then the second time I do it, I do 2 hits. Then I do a couple ones in a row. Then I do a couple ones in a row. The whole form of it goes like this. There's a 2 right after the beginning and a 2 just before the end. That's the same pattern every time you hear it. When you hear that open percussive thing, that's what I'm doing. Now let's move into the first kind of lick in it. What I'm doing here is the same technique, but I'm rolling off open strings to create these kind of boiling sounding fills that are going by, and I'm using all of this. I kept it in very box shaped type of things so that your hands are doing the same thing all the time. So these should be, pretty easy to get down because they're all using the same style of fingerings. What I'm doing is going, hitting the open, then I'm hammering on to the 3 and 5 all the way across the E, A, and D strings. So it would go. And then I go back to the A string for the final roll. Okay, that's pretty much how all these fills are going to go. Now the second one kind of does the same thing, but I'm moving hand position. I'm going. It starts off the same, 3 and 5 across the E, A, and D strings. Then I'm moving up to the A string, and I'm going 5 and 7 across the D, or the A, D, and G. So the same maneuver, just moved up a string and up 2 frets. Then I finish up with D and G on the 7 and 9. All together. Right? And again, before each lick, I'm doing that same pattern of 1s and 2s. Now, the last one that you hear is me doubling up on a couple of these little box shapes. So I'm doing 3 and 5 on the E and A, and I'm going. Then next, I'm doing 5 and 7 on the A and D. So that's the last of those type of riffs. The final one, where you hear the little double stop chords, I'm just kind of strumming Primus style and doing, flat barring across the 7, 5, and 4. I'm kind of flicking out with my hand. And the pattern in front of it, same set of 2s and 1s. Again, not too many variations in it, so they shouldn't be too hard to get down. It's just keeping it real boxy the whole time. Now, I did the same thing as far as the tapping goes, and we've talked about, the close-in box tapping on here before and the open type of thing. What I wanted to do with this one is do a little bit more of the Stu Hamm piano style thing, but again, I tried to keep it simplified and do something where it's more boxy, root and fifth type of shape. So what I'm doing is, on the top, I'm doing the 14th on the D string and the 16th on the G string, and I'm using my index and ring finger. On the bottom, I'm using my index and ring finger again, mirror reflection of it, and I'm starting on the 3rd fret and doing the 5th on the A, then the 5th, and on the A string we're doing the 7th, then the 7th and the 9, and then the 8 and the 10. And what we're doing is rolling through in 4 counts. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you roll each one through, and it's just alternating in between actually moving each note individually, and then on the second time, you hit the last on 8 and 10, all of them together. So the second time through would go. Right? So it just does back and forth in between those two 2 times each. So 1 through, just doing the individual notes, 1 through, ending on the chord tone. Individual notes, chord tone. And then this is the ending tag, is something where I wanted to show how useful this can be, is because I'm up here, I'm already in position to switch to a different type of tapping or go right back into this if I want to. But what I did was do a little ending run that's almost a backwards of one of the box shape type of rolling runs. But this I'm actually tapping. I'm doing the 14th fret on the G string, and I'm going 14, open, then 7 and 9. Same thing on the D string, then 5 and 7 on the D string, then 5 and 7 on the A. Ends on the open E. So you get the. That's it. So again, try to keep it simple with the box shape so you can worry more about getting a couple of different ideas down and little flourishes and things. And what I think the benefit of this is, and what I'd like to see you guys move on with, is instead of having like all that technique in one section, then just this technique in that section, is once you've gotten these down, start mixing them together. Have it so that you start adding in tapping pieces, kind of hybridizing it so it's not a section of one technique, a section of the other. But that's why I divided it up one section at a time to have a different toolbox. And then as you get more developed with it, you can start exploring different ideas. But I definitely recommend you do it. And it could be really useful. Like I said, to be able to get kind of piano style tapping, the rolling style tapping, tight box style tapping, and a slapping tone all inside of just having your hand on the neck right here. Really useful. And you can have a ton of different options just by having your hands, pulled up from your normal plucking position and be able to get a lot of different varieties and sounds and things like that. So I'd love to hear in the comments if you've used some of this type of stuff before, what combinations you've done, who you've seen it from. Originally, I think the person I saw this from would probably be John Entwistle. And it was he wasn't really doing type of things, but the fact that he plucked over top of the fingerboard and got that, he kind of did it unintentionally, I think, in a way, but it was mostly him getting that real bright fret clack out of it. I've seen Ryan from Mudvayne do it once in a while in the more modern context. So you never know. I see every once in a while a player drop it in for a second or so, but I don't see anybody extensively doing that much. Have you seen it and I just have missed it with somebody? Definitely hit me up. I'm always looking to check out what kind of exciting stuff is going on with new players. Now, as far as practicing this stuff, really it comes down to, as always, just take it slow, get a metronome on. That's where getting those subdivisions is going to come in handy. It's really going to help out to just taking it and really just being able to feel the constant change of the ones and twos. And when you get good at it, definitely pick it up and start, moving it around a lot. Don't make it the same system all the time. For patrons, I'm going to have the drum tracks for this, again, in 3 different speeds so that you can accelerate as you go along and get it up to speed. So look for that link coming up in a post in Patreon and Subscribestar. And as always, thanks so much to my patrons. We'll also be talking about the redo of the live stream that unfortunately got completely hammered by YouTube. I'll be doing it for everybody on the channel, but I'm going to let patrons add in some other things they'd like to see covered. But I made some notes on what we covered last time, and I'll try and get all that back in. So look for that here soon. I'm also going to have a new video coming up here fairly soon, this being early September. But I'm thinking of redoing the 3-finger plucking video and then doing some shred shed stuff where we can really get into even more brutal string crossing and some stuff that'll really capitalize on the 3-finger thing. So check for that one as well. As always, hit me up in the comments. Let me know how it goes with your practice on this, what you think of it, and if it inspires some new ideas. I'd love to hear it. And if you do something new or cool with it, definitely link your video in the comments. Love to see it. So that's going to wrap it. I'm going to let you guys out of the shed for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share, please. Always appreciated. I will see you on the next one.